Yo, 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 welcome to Pitch Report. We are back after summer vacation. We are back in school. How are you, Amilcar?
I'm good. How are you doing, Mario?
Doing well, thank you. There's a lot going on in the soccer world, but, we need our R&R too, We mentioned that the season's getting long. There's a lot of games that are getting played, so we needed some time off too, like a lot of the U.S. men's national team players.
Exactly. Yeah, we had to take our well-deserved summer break before this new episode. So, but yeah, we're back and better than ever for another set of episodes. I'm excited.
Or at least we're back.
Yeah, that's
The
fair.
better we'll see.
Yeah, back, and then we'll see where the wind takes us here.
Back and optimistic.
There you go. I like the positivity, Mario.
There's been so much that's happened, so obviously we are gonna just pick a few things to cover. I think one of the things was something that happened in our home ground or home turf or in our backyard. That's the word I was looking for. With the Club World Cup, where Chelsea clinched the title, they beat defending Champions League winners PSG 3-0 in a pretty dominant win. Just overall, what were your thoughts?
On the match or just the Club World Cup in general?
Honestly, the whole thing in general.
Yeah, so I don't know. I thought it was better than advertised. I thought it was going to be a lot like people were going to care a lot less. But it was pretty exciting. I think we talked a little bit about it before we took our break. I think it was like towards like the first group stage games, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about it, but yeah, so I think it was better than advertised. I think it was a lot more exciting and fun to watch than I had expected it to be. I thought it was going to be kind of one of those throwaway tournaments that people were just gonna like not really show up for. Players weren't going to show up for. Coaches weren't going to show up for. But it seemed like everyone really played really well. It was really cool because it had a similar semblance of like a World Cup where you're seeing these small teams,
Yeah.
air quotes, small teams, playing well against other teams that are, the perennial favorites, things of that sort. But funny enough, the final ended up being essentially a European final, which, tracks to kind of World Cups too, a lot of the times. But yeah, overall, I thought it was really exciting. Chelsea was a shock to me, honestly, that they won. I did not see that one coming at all.
I totally agree. I don't know if it's like the Cole Palmer of it all, where he just seems kind of like chill, laid back, like just kind of there, but really good. And that's kind of, I think, it just embodies Chelsea. Like you see him, you don't necessarily like take him seriously just because he's honestly just a very chill guy. And I did not really see them winning it either. But I guess maybe we're silly. They were the super strong winners from not the Champions League, not the Europa League,
It's like
but
the Europa
the
Conference League, right?
Confederation
Or
Conference.
yeah,
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah. So how could we rule out the mighty winners of the
The
Conference
defending
League?
champs.
That is interesting. The premier tier of European club competition versus the winner PSG versus the third place winner in Chelsea. So I guess it is teams that were like in decent form considering that
Yeah.
they'd been.
Wait, I actually think they won the Europa League because wasn't it Tottenham that won the Europa Conference League? Or am I mixing both of them up?
No. It was they won the Conference League because Manchester United lost the Europa League
Against
against
Tottenham?
Tottenham.
Oh, okay. So it was the
Yeah,
Conference League. Okay, cool. Yeah, because I was a little bit
yeah,
confused about that one. But yeah,
yeah.
kind of surprising, honestly. But I mean, they played pretty well in the Premier League, and that's I think something we were touching upon when we were discussing this stuff the first time around. Was that like they kind of did finish in pretty decent form? Obviously, they were playing in a pretty like not great like Champions League, Conference League, whatever. So that was kind of casting a shadow on them, but they definitely did end the season pretty well. I think they ended like third place for the year. I think because I think they got a Champions League spot.
Yeah, they did, but I thought they got it for. We're talking about Chelsea, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they got it for by winning the why can't I not Conference Confederation League? I don't know why I can't pronounce it, but by winning that, they got their Champions League spot.
We're both googling at this point to see where they got it.
You know, when you come back from like summer break or for the working professionals from like the holidays or vacation, and you're just like just remembering things, getting back into it. That is us right now.
Yeah, literally. No, yeah, they're in looks like six. Oh no, let's see. No, they're fourth place. Yeah, so they got a Champions League spot. Right off the bat. So, um, but yeah, I mean, they played really well. I think they also like. I would venture to say they had the easier way to the final, which we've talked a little bit about when we were talking about Champions League on whether that's beneficial to you because you kind of have an easier way. You're not challenged as much. You're not as tired, or if it's like a detriment in terms of you haven't really faced competition, you're not really mentally strong because you haven't played the tip top best teams, whereas teams that have played kind of the top competition are kind of ready for it. So obviously that didn't affect them because they beat PSG pretty handedly, like you said, 3-0.
Yeah.
And PSG just came off of basically destroying Real Madrid. So, and in very
Yeah.
dominant fashion. So I think everyone that was going into that game probably thought, okay, PSG is going to run away with it. It's going to be nice and easy. They're going to probably win 3-4, 5-0, worse than they're going to beat them worse than Real Madrid. And then it just like kind of some quick early goals, Cole Palmer kind of doing it right in the beginning. And then they just couldn't crawl out of the hole.
That was the first time in the whole like knockout phase where PSG even allowed goals. They like just dominated everyone. Inter Miami went out 4-0, then Bayern 2-0, Real Madrid 4-0, RIP, and then they didn't give up goals until the Chelsea game. So yeah, kudos to Chelsea. It looks like now they're trying to like they're spending more money in, and we'll talk about it in like the transfer news, and trying to really be even more competitive in the Premier League. So interesting. So I think it also maybe might mean people do take the tournament more seriously. You mentioned earlier that, from your opinion, it was like more fun than like you expected it to be,
Mm-hmm.
and I agree. It actually was kind of cool seeing like these like fun matchups you usually like wouldn't see. Like I was like really like thrilled to see like Monterrey playing Dortmund in the round of 16, and there was actually like a lot of trash talking between like Mexican fans and Argentinian fans because like they had talked about how like the league in Argentina is way better, and like Mexico is super proud that they had like one team make it to the knockout phase because Argentina like did not have a team make it to the knockout phase. So I think it did engage the fans a little bit more. And as the tournament evolves and like other iterations, I think it can definitely have a lot of success in like drawing bigger crowds, and people really like caring more, because it was fun just seeing like this whole like kind of like Disney crossover event of like soccer teams.
Yeah, something that'll be interesting to figure out is going to be like how they're going to pick the teams, because I think that was kind of a question mark that no one really understood because it was the past 4 years. Like people are like, oh, if you won one of the cups, like a domestic cup, you were in, but some people had won domestic cups, didn't get in. So I think that'll be interesting how they kind of weigh it, because I think they're going to have to figure it out early enough for teams to kind of be prepared for that. Um, and if people or if teams don't care about it enough, they're going to care about like the purse, like the money, like that's like kind of the biggest thing that I think is driving owners probably. And from what I was hearing, a lot of the teams were giving a bunch of bonuses to players. So if anything, that'll be a motivation. I mean, when we're talking about like Chelsea making like 100 and something million, was $114 million from like less than a month, or like PSG 106, Real Madrid 82 million. A club like Fluminense that made $61 million, which is probably more than
Yeah.
they will make in like a couple of years, potentially. I'm not sure, but there was some teams that were making double, triple what their entire yearly income is. So, if that's not motivation enough.
Yeah, like a club like Auckland City making $4.6 million, that is insane. It also, like what you mentioned about like the bonus, it could be a really good incentive structure for European clubs to keep a lot of the talent that's going to other places that pay a little bit more, especially for players like towards the end of their careers. So maybe it'll change like those dynamics a little bit more than it has in the past.
Yeah, and hopefully, like I don't really remember how many teams start on this one, but hopefully it'll grow, and you'll end up getting a lot of more of the smaller teams that are able to kind of join in, and hopefully, I mean, I hate to say like I was gonna say hopefully there'll be like some lead-in tournaments, kind of like there is in the World Cup. But then again, we spend some time talking about like segments talking about how many games there are, and I'm like now
Yeah.
suggesting like, oh, maybe they should do some like a warm-up tournament or like a Club World Cup qualifier or something like that. But no, it's probably ends up being too much. But it is nice, and hopefully this will also just like continue growing the game. And then because there was in the US this year, which obviously is really pushing to grow the game with this, and then the World Cup coming up. But hopefully that'll be something that as well, is kind of like a side effect that it'll help world soccer.
Yeah, totally agree. And you mentioned like the small teams, and I just want to call out or shout out Auckland City. I did not know until the tournament started that they were essentially like amateur players, how they don't play professionally full time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really cool. Like they got like blown out, but just so fun, like seeing them like get to play like these teams. They're like, yeah, it's nice. Like the goalkeeper was interviewed. He's like, yeah, it's nice being able to just like do soccer full time, like in preparation for the tournament. And he had to like use PTO to go play this tournament, which is so insane. But he was also like really like, even though Bayern Munich like scored 10 goals on him, he was really happy he got to like play against one of his idols, like Manuel Neuer. So it was just really cool, like these little stories. And yeah, these teams are not very competitive, but I hope we still see a little bit of that in like future iterations, which is something that I like a lot about the like FA Cup and like the I'm blanking on the name of the like equivalent tournament in like Spain, but when like small teams, like amateur teams, get to play like the big clubs,
Mm-hmm.
it's like there's something fun and endearing about that.
Yeah, they're like, we're just happy to be here, no
Yeah,
matter what happens. The crazy part of like I think one of the biggest headlines that I think we probably saw out of the Club World Cup was like the weather, which is kind of ironic because we never thought like the weather would be a big deal or like an issue. Like I know going to Qatar, like that was the big talk was, oh, it's in the desert, it's going to be crazy hot. But there was so many concerns about how hot it was when they were playing. And because most of them were day games, if not everyone
yeah.
was a day game. So it was like 85, 90 degrees in some places. So that was kind of crazy to continue seeing, but it was concern enough to where they I know they said that for the World Cup any day games are going to be like indoor stadiums. So it's kind of cool that they did a little trial run and it wasn't actually during the World Cup that they figured all this out.
That's a good point. I think for the United States in general, it's a really good way to figure out some of the kinks that like you just don't know until you're hosting a tournament. I also wonder if there's kind of like a misconception that you assume, because one of the games that they complained about was like the games at the Rose Bowl, that it was like really hot, and it was really hot. And like, granted, we're not playing in that weather, so it's easier for us to kind of like comment on it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's a misconception sometimes that you think Southern California is just going to be like really nice, like breezy, like 72. And no, we still get a few hot days, not as many as like maybe other parts of the world. But yeah, it's still summer.
Yeah, I mean, it was like I want to say it was like high 70s, low 80s. But the issue I think that comes up is like the games are in the middle of the day. So
Yeah.
not most, I'm not gonna say most, but a lot of the games when you watch them in Europe, they're like nighttime games. They're either super late at night or like in the
Very true.
evening or early mornings. But for the most part, in the evening. So like you could be in 80, it can be 80, 90 degrees, and like in Madrid, it's easily 80, 90 degrees. But when the sun's not beating on you, it's a totally different, it's much more manageable than it is in at noon or 1 p.m. when the sun's beating down on you and you're trying to like run around. So I think that's probably the biggest difference. And that's why they were saying the Brazilian teams or South American teams were better off because I think some of them play during the day and they're also more used to like the humidity and the heat and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Maybe I should go run out in the middle of the day, and I'll have more appreciation for what they were doing.
Exactly, especially now that you're back to playing soccer. You tell the listeners about that one.
I didn't tell you. So I went to play for my first game post Achilles injury. I played it like 5 minutes, just my 5 minutes. My foot felt like kind of tight, and it wasn't even the one that got injured. It was the other one, but that Achilles just felt like kind of strange. I think a lot of it might be mental, but I'm still easing into it. So it wasn't like the best return to the game, but yeah, I hope to play a little better next time.
Hey, you got to slow and steady, man. It's about the long
Yeah.
game. That's what matters, right?
Oh yeah, exactly. That I'm just trying to prioritize that.
Oh
Uh,
man.
but we're not going to go too far away for like this next segment. We're still
Mhm.
staying in the U.S. CONCACAF Gold Cup happened at the same time as the Club World Cup. It did end a little bit before, but Mexico won their 10th edition, or no, sorry, their 10th Gold Cup, being the most successful country in the tournament. And for a few years, the U.S. had been creeping up in terms of like Gold Cup wins, but Mexico remains dominant. 2-1 win. Yeah. Any specific thoughts, Amilcar, on the tournament in general?
I mean, the tournament, we've already talked about this. I'm going to be blunt. Like, I think it's just like kind of prep tournament. It's like, I don't know. It's just kind of like, you know. We were talking about it. Like, I think the first probably 3 rounds, the group stage, it's kind of, those are the games you're just like, okay, do we really need to do this? Like, let's get the, the usual suspects. Granted, Canada was not a usual suspect this year, which is a little bit surprising. But you're thinking, okay, U.S. Mexico, U.S. Canada, Mexico Canada, uh, some sort of iteration of those 3 teams are probably going to be in
Yeah.
the final, in the quarterfinals, or semifinals. Sorry, and it's not a huge tournament, so it kind of goes like group stage. I think there's like one knockout, then you're in the quarters, and you're in the final. So
Yeah, and there was not even over or extra time for like the knockout phases. You just went straight to penalties.
oh wow, dang, they're really
Yeah.
trying to get it over with.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's my thought on the tournament itself. Obviously, the U.S. was going in there with not really their strongest team because we had talked about they rested a ton of players. Not they rested, the players rested. The Pochettino didn't want them to rest, but the players, a handful of their top players rested. They had a pretty decent World Cup, a pretty decent Gold Cup. They had some like blips and some like little bits of excitement that you're like, okay, cool, this is like a good U.S. team you can get behind. But at the end of the day, like that last match against Mexico, they were like heavily outmatched. At least that's what it seemed like. And Mexico played really well. So I mean, I guess the question to you is like, do you think that Mexico played well, U.S. played poorly? Like, where do you think it kind of falls here in the final game?
I think Mexico played well. They're playing a little bit more with more cohesion as a team. I think they're finding more of their identity. And the criticism might be from like the US side of like, yeah, you beat like our B team. At the end of the day, it's a tournament and like, yeah, okay, maybe we tried a little bit more. So yeah, we won. There's like, okay, we beat the team that you brought. That's the
Mm-hmm.
team that Mexico beat. I do think the situation is a little dire for CONCACAF in general because I don't see a team that's very strong. Even in Mexico, like they beat like a B, maybe some C elements of the US team 2-1 in like a pretty like close game. Even though they did play significantly better, they didn't blow them out. Uh, and honestly, I think if the US had their A team, I still think it's a really close game. Maybe a tie that goes to like extra time. But yeah, there's not a team that from CONCACAF that looks like they're going to be able to do much in the World Cup. I do think there always is like the home field advantage that's very real, even the home region advantage. So I think the South American teams will also do very well just because there's such a big South American population in like the U.S. But yeah, we'll see. Because essentially, what we're seeing now is like this is kind of what you have to play with in terms of like the pool of players. It's not like maybe like Pachuca has like the young kid that played the Club World Cup that can like come up from Mexico, but yeah, there's not going to be a lot of other players really like coming up. So it just makes me very curious to see what happens as we get a little bit closer to the World Cup.
Yeah, because I mean, these are kind of like warm up matches, right? We have what, a little bit less than a year now, till the
Yeah,
World Cup comes around. So it's like the teams are going to start solidifying here soon, and how you play in these tournaments is kind of going to be how you're kind of going to get picked on the team. And I guess for the U.S. side, I think they had some pretty good players. Like we were talking about Luna playing so well, so he probably like earned himself a
yeah,
spot where he wouldn't have otherwise. Right? Had it been any other year, he may have not been called up. Like Luca de la Torre, we're talking about like STFC. He also had a pretty good tournament, and also maybe wouldn't have gotten called up had it not been for all these people that decide not to play. So I will say at the end of the day, I feel like players not showing up to this like as much as your play on the field talks. I think that still shows a lot about the person. So as a coach, I feel like there's probably Pochettino probably felt some sort of disrespect at some point for them not wanting to play for him. So I think that's going to be in the back of his mind. If there's anybody that's like pretty close to, you know, making it or not making it in, I think that could be like a determining factor on whether they are in the World Cup squad. But like you said, yeah, it's gonna be rough, rough sledding for them. You know, like even though there's like the home field advantage, just because not crazy competitive. Although Mexico had some crazy young talent in there, so give them another year. Maybe they're all playing together for some more time. Because I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but this team I don't think has played together for very long.
Yeah, so the coach Javier Aguirre has been with the team not even a year yet, but he has the experience of being the national coach twice before.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like under like this like new regime, like yeah, not necessarily. So yeah, you could say yeah they haven't really played together for too long, and I think they're still trying to sort out who are like what's like their best like attacking like players. I think the midfield is getting a little bit more solidified. But they're still working out some kinks, I would say. And the one thing I am optimistic, especially more in the U.S. side, they've been more heavily criticized recently for the lack of results. I think that can be a potentially in a positive. If you're trying to look at it, things that are looking for a silver lining, that could be something that they come into the World Cup thinking like, hey, we need to prove ourselves, and it could be just a positive reinforcement because sometimes you can have like good results in your region, and then that gives you like a false sense of we beat up everyone in CONCACAF, and now we can go compete with the European teams or the South American teams, even like the really good Asian teams. Not having that success right now, I think, can sometimes like help you have a better result.
Yeah, a little kick in the butt
Down the line
to
yeah.
get going.
Yeah,
but this is a perfect place to plug in, Mario. We're gonna be doing doing our World Cup coverage.
Oh yeah,
you can plug it in right there. You'll be able to hear a lot more of that. We'll probably start a couple months before, breaking down like all the teams and like the groups, kind of like we did last time. And then all the matches. So literally, wow, it literally felt like we were talking about the World Cup right now. Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it really is. It's the best time of the every 4 years, I guess, of the decade, or every 2 decades, or no, you know what I mean. Yeah, super excited. That's how this all started. Like this podcast originated as a World Cup podcast for the 2022 World Cup. So super excited to bring some of that back.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll be doing that, and then I think we'll talk about it at the end. We'll finish our last segment before we talk about what we'll be covering here soon. So last thing, I think the biggest thing in the summer that you hear about is summer transfers. So there's some big names that moved around. I'm going to give you some names. You tell me what you think about them. So probably the biggest name I think that moved teams was Florian Wirtz. Went to Liverpool for 116 million pounds from Bayer Leverkusen. What are your thoughts on that one?
So is anyone left at Bayern Leverkusen or the locker rooms? Is there anyone there? If you go like look at the stadium, everyone like they just did super well, and they're like peace.
I know Xabi Alonso's out of there. He's out of there. Like Jeremy Frimpong, I think, was there too. Everyone's gone, dude. Which is crazy. Which makes sense. Yeah. So like when you have a smaller team like that does really well. I mean, imagine they're going to cash in 116 million euros on this, plus all the other money that they've made. So it's probably going to be one of those where they sell that one player, buy 4, 5, 6 more, develop them, and kind of keep that pattern going. Because I mean, there's some clubs that's literally their MO, right? Their business model.
I mean, yeah, good for Bayern Leverkusen there, and I think it's a pattern we're starting to see where Bundesliga is just generating a lot of talent and then just exporting it out primarily to like the leagues that can really pay for it. You see it a lot with Borussia Dortmund. They get some of the best players, and then like they go on to like bigger clubs. So good for Bayern Leverkusen. Yeah, hopefully they can stay competitive because they won it 2 years ago. Then last year they gave Bayern Munich a really good fight for the title again. So yeah, I hope for the fan base that they can still have a pretty competitive season.
Yeah, I mean, on Liverpool side, they're going to have. I mean, they already won the Premier League last year, and now they're signing even more players. more talent in the midfield. So it's a great move for them. He played really well in the Euros. So I'm excited for them. Not a huge like Liverpool fan per se, but I did like him. I liked him a lot. He was like connected to Real Madrid for a little bit, so that was a little bit
Yeah.
exciting. But yeah, he's gonna play well. And speaking of other teams, we talked a little bit about Chelsea. You talked about them reinforcing, and they spent their 120 million real quick. It was burning a hole in their
Yeah.
pocket. They spent what 60 like 170 million pounds on João Pedro, Estevão William, and Jamie Gittins. Those are the three players that they got. It's just crazy that they're getting more players. I don't hear them selling players, which is the craziest thing, because I want to say,
They never do, it feels like.
right? Yeah, because last year I want to say they had like 4 or 5 goalkeepers. They were so deep. They had like 20, 30 like squad players, and that they couldn't even register everyone. So it's like, what's going on, man? The American takes over, they just want to buy everything.
Maybe it's something with the Club World Cup. They played basically in the knockout phase all teams that speak Portuguese except for the finals where they played PSG. But they beat Benfica, Portuguese team, and then they beat Fluminense and Palmeiras to make it to like the final. So yeah, they were, I don't know, they maybe they saw the Brazilian players and they're like, "Yep, we'll take you. We'll take you." Coming back with us.
Right. The crazy part is like they just won the Club World Cup, right? So if we're gonna say that and I guess we didn't touch upon it a little bit about what it really means. Like, does it mean that they're the best team in the world? Does it just mean that they had a good tournament? Are they kind of gonna be in the top, Premier League teams, top Champions League teams, or was it just kind of a one-off tournament? Who knows? But crazy that they won it, and the first thing was, oh, we need to reinforce. We need to be
Yeah.
better or reinforce reinforcements, which is interesting because now you have even more players that maybe aren't going to be playing, or there's no camaraderie, things of that sort. So, what do you think about that? Do you think it's going to be a strength, or do you think it's maybe going to bite them a little bit?
Considering it's a lot of like young players, I think it'll be a strength though. I think it's usually harder or it's more challenging when you bring a bunch of like well-known superstars that have been stars in big clubs, and obviously these are really good players. But I think it's harder doing that and then having the team mesh than when you have like young players. I think you can still like adapt them and mold them a little bit more, and they might be a little bit more willing to adapt a certain style of play or do certain things. So I think it'll be a strength. And then in your comment about like Chelsea winning the Club World Cup, I did see a post. I don't know if it was from the Chelsea social like media like accounts, but it said we are champions of the world. And it seemed a little strange, I will say. Technically, yeah, if you win the Club World Cup, then yeah, you are the world champion, I guess. But usually I only think champion of the world like the World Cup, and that's it. And then in American sports, they really like to say they're the world champion if they win their leagues, at least for like baseball, basketball,
Mm-hmm.
football, which is kind of like a cop out. Yeah, it felt a little strange, but I mean, to their credit, because I would think the best Europe or the best club team is usually whoever wins the Champions League. So to their credit, they did beat the Champions League winner,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still just read a little bit funny. Like if like Monterrey had won it, I was like, yeah, I guess you are the champion of the world, but are you really? So yeah, just a little side note that I remembered when I had seen that.
Yeah,
Do
I
you think
mean,
it'll be a strength though for the Chelsea team?
I don't know. I think it depends. I think it depends. They played pretty well together. I think a lot of what we're dictating them on, or like judging them on, is that last match, which I mean Cole Palmer almost single handedly took that over. So if he can play like that, it doesn't matter who's really around him. They're gonna play well. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's also funny because like Kukureya, some reason, played lights out. Like anytime it's like a World Cup or a Euro Cup or a world tournament, whatever we're gonna call this, like he plays like out of his mind, and people love him. But then they go to like the Premier League and he just like plays terribly. And then people are like, "What the hell? Why do we have this guy?
yeah.
Why is this guy on the team?" But yeah, I think if Cole Palmer's going to play that way, you can put, like I said, put anybody around him. But I don't think it hurts to have talent. Like you said, a lot of them are like 17-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds. They're all really young players. So it's going to be people that they're maybe going to be developing for the future. which is always good. I think it's a strength that Real Madrid kind of had when they brought in players to take over for Benzema and Modric and all those. So I think like being able to do that is huge. Granted, their first team is still pretty young, so it's not like they're
Yeah.
got some 30-year-old players that they're going to be taking over for. But we'll see. I think because this is such a new tournament, we don't really know how to feel about it, because the Champions League goes throughout the whole season. Like the leagues obviously go throughout the whole season. All the other cups go through a whole season, so you have to be really good for an extended period of time, right? Here it's just like 3 weeks ish that you have to be really good for to win. So we'll see. I think give it like the first like 5, 6, 7 weeks of the EPL, and we'll get to know what Chelsea is and how these new signings panned out.
That's a really good point, and especially on like just seeing future versions of the Club World Cup how they play out, because it's also a tournament where each respective player, there's more variables into how a team or player might show up. Some of them are already thinking about summer vacation, like literally. Others are like, am I going to be with this team in a few weeks? Or they know this is like my last hurrah with this team, and then I'm gone. So like, and then some players have not necessarily, or some teams have not been in a competitive environment for a few weeks at that point, depending on when your season ended and how you were performing. So there are a lot of variables of how each individual team and then players show up to the tournament. So we'll see like in the future if there's any like overarching patterns that we start to identify. And then on the Cole Palmer thing, something I want to give him credit to. He's got one of like the more cool celebrations, I would say, for goal. I like his little like
Oh, the chili.
chills thing. Yeah. And I think that should be like a segment in of itself where we talk about some of the better celebrations.
There's plenty of
But
them.
one of the last, yeah, exactly. One of the last like big summer transfers went to your team, Real Madrid, Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Mm-hmm.
Are you liking what you're seeing so far, or what have been your thoughts?
Yeah, so far so good, man. I think he played really well. I think he earned his money. They paid $8 million for him, or £8 million for him. He was a free agent, but they just paid that just so they could have him in the Club World Cup, basically. And he played well. Him and Dean Housen also was another big signing. But they solidified the back line a little bit more than what we had seen. There's obviously still some work to do when you get cooked a couple of times, and a lot of it was self-inflicted, sadly, by the back line, mainly Raul Asensio. But yeah, so I'm very happy with it. I think he's going to play like that Marcelo role where it's like a defender but midfielder. He's playing kind of like wing back. So it'll be good. I think he's going to benefit a lot or the forwards are going to benefit a lot from him. So I'm thinking like Mbappe, Vinny, all of them, because the balls are going to come in are going to be great. You know what I mean? And there's just going to be more opportunities.
And they don't have to defend, which they don't like.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But that just means that there's so much more pressure on the center backs, right, to defend and stay back. And then you have the Fede Valverde's that, defensive mid, running back and forth. So there's got to be a balance for sure. And I think Xabi Alonso will figure it out, and hopefully he'll figure it out. I mean, he only had like a week or two of training before the World Cup started, or the Club World Cup. So yeah, hopefully he'll figure it out. But no, I like the signing so far. Really good. I think he really gets along with all the players as well. But yeah, there's still a lot to do because Barcelona's still defending La Liga champion, man. So they got a lot to do to catch up to them.
Yeah, and I will say, like, we talked about it going into the tournament, if Trent Alexander-Arnold was worth like the extra like money that they paid to get him early. And in retrospect, I agree. It definitely was. Like, the price money that Real Madrid got was $82.5 million. For Xabi Alonso as a new coach, I think it was really valuable that now he knows what this back line's going to be. Now he's not spending the summer like thinking, like, he got to see them in competitive action, see what works, what doesn't work. So now he won't spend the summer trying to speculate like how they're going to do come like the competitive La Liga season. Now he already got to see it, and now the players will get some summer break before the La Liga starts. And I think they're going to start with a slight advantage having had that time.
I hope so, because like you said, like playing in preseason games and playing in friendlies and playing in practice is nothing compared to when you're actually playing in a match that counts. So it kind of lets you know what the players actually look like. But
Yeah.
yeah, we can also plug in that we're going to be talking about all the leagues too.
Most leagues are starting August 15th, August 14th. So we do want to do a few more fun episodes about the leagues. We're going to talk about some of our projections, what we think is going to happen with different teams. We want to talk about the kits as well. A lot of the teams are going to premiere their new kits. So we want to see what we think about those. So yeah, a lot of exciting thing is going on as like the new season begins. And I did want to plug one last transfer that happened. Son Heung-min from Tottenham's going to LAFC.
Yeah.
That's really exciting. That was one where I was like, I'm happy with what San Diego FC has done. Like Chucky Lozano's like a good player, and like I'm happy that they're really focusing like on the team and not necessarily getting big names. But when I saw that Son is going to LAFC, I was like, oh, that would have been pretty cool. Because who doesn't love him? Like I'm a Manchester United fan, but he's just like seems like such a nice person. So I'm excited to see him play here in MLS. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, he seems like he's a very likable guy, like very chill,
Yeah.
just like down to earth dude. So, yeah, it's crazy. Like I think anytime there's a big name, they're always tied to like the LA teams, LA Galaxy, LAFC, or Inter Miami. Obviously, Rodrigo de Paul just went there. So yeah, it's hopefully it'll kind of pour over to all the teams, and everyone will have like these big name players, and they'll kind of be able to continue growing the league, because that'll be really, really fun to watch.
Wait, I missed the news that De Paul was going to Miami.
Yeah, you think he played his first game?
Wow,
already.
that's crazy. Dang, that's crazy.
Yeah,
I guess
literally
he's older
the Argentine
than I thought.
team.
He's 31.
You play for Barcelona or you play for Argentina, you're on that team.
Yeah. Have you played with Messi before?
Exactly.
And then
no, get out. Yes, okay. Potential.
Yeah. You're like, even as a coach.
Like, yeah, literally. Yeah, it's crazy. But cool. I mean, if it keeps bringing more press and more money to the MLS, hopefully that'll keep growing like the rest of the league. You know what I mean? It'll force other teams to level up too. You know what I mean? Because they're going to be just lights out. They're going to be really good. Same thing with LAFC.
Yeah. Talking about really good teams, we'll cover them more in future episodes. But San Diego FC, they've still been cooking. They're first place in the National League West. Wait, no, sorry. I'm thinking
sports.
Baseball. Yeah. What I hope that the Padres are in a few weeks, hopefully. But yeah, they're first place on the West Division, so hopefully they continue that. The Vancouver Whitecaps are like right on the heels, just 1 point behind. But hopefully we can continue that historic season and get the first place.
Absolutely, Mario. This has been fun. I'm glad we got to jump back on here again, nice and refreshed. I know we were a little rusty, but I promise we'll get better.
We sure will. Thank you very much for listening, and glad to be back. Have a good one.
See ya.